If you're a woman, this is what your belly and waist should look like. Flat at all angles, tiny hourglass shape, zero bloating, and for goodness sake, woman, no rolls. This is what you're supposed to look like. And if you're not lazy, and if you diet and work out, this is what your belly will look like. And then you'll be happy. Right? Wrong! You guys, this is not what human beings look like. Sure, if you contort your body into wild angles and you have your lighting just right to throw the shadows where you need them, and you suck in with all your might, and then perhaps edit your pictures just a little bit, you might look like this in photos. But I promise you, even models, even influencers, even celebrities don't look like this all the time in real life. Now, I'm going to refer to the Instagram belly as the brat's belly. You guys all know the one. If you've been on Instagram for any length of time, you will know the belly I'm talking about. It looks a lot like a caricature of a real human's body, only about 20 centimeters in diameter, with a tiny slit of a belly button and completely out of proportion with the rest of their body. Believe it or not, guys, this is not a new phenomenon. We have been manipulating women's bodies to fit the beauty standards of the time for literally hundreds of years. While Photoshop wasn't invented until the 1990s and Facetune is still relatively new, we have always managed to find a way to misrepresent the female human body. Look at tight lace corsets from the 17 and 1800s. Women would wear these corsets made from thick fabric with bone or metal inserts, sounds comfortable, and tightly constrict their bellies and rib cages to give the illusion of a tiny waist. Not only was this super uncomfortable for the women of the time, but it restricted their breathing, hence ladies always fainting in those old school movies. It compressed their internal organs, leading to horrible digestive problems, not to mention it could literally deform their skeletal structure and even lead to death. Why, oh why, do we do this to ourselves? Why are we so obsessed with having a flat belly or a small waist that we would literally inflict harm on ourselves or die to achieve it? That almost makes Facetune look like the innocent option. I know loads of us think that this manipulation of the female human body is like a recent thing, but even as far back as the 1950s, we have been doing this. The 1950s artist Gil Elvgren would use real women as his muse for his pin-up illustrations. However, do you notice a difference here? Look at the waist. He has cinched in the waist just a little bit, which is actually in stark contrast to what women actually looked like back then and is so reminiscent of Instagram versus reality today. Marilyn Monroe, who was considered the ultimate body goals at the time, she had an hourglass body shape, but she didn't have a flat belly. She didn't have a concave waist, and if you have grown up thinking that your belly should be flat at all times and your waist should be tiny, since well before Instagram was ever a thing, take a look at the Disney princesses. Belle, Snow White, Cinderella, Mulan, Elsa, and Anna. Do you guys notice a common theme here? Look at their bellies. They all have impossibly tiny waists. In a study by Pennsylvania State University anthropologist To Young, he notes Disney princesses have extremely small waist to hip ratios that are nearly impossible to achieve naturally. Then take a look at the most popular dolls for little girls, Barbie and Bratz. You'll see the exact same thing. Teeny tiny waists that almost disappear when you turn them sideways. This kind of subliminal programming plants the seeds in little girls' minds that this is what women are supposed to look like. It sets you up to think that these extreme and unrealistic ideals of beauty and body image is actually natural and normal and what you should look like. It's hardly a wonder then that these little girls grow into women who hate their bodies, realize that they're never going to achieve these unrealistic beauty standards, and then go on to crash diet and effectively ruin their metabolism, which causes more problems down the line. So whilst the hourglass body shape and small waist has always been coveted, it has never been this extreme or this ridiculous. It is not normal, natural, or achievable for women's bellies to look like what you see on Instagram. Now guys, don't just take my word for it. Look at this little montage that I've put together of the world's most famous Instagram influencers and celebrities and the way they portray their bellies on social media compared to pictures of them in real life that aren't posed, aren't in the perfect lighting, etc., etc. that's not all, folks. Just for the sake of it, here's a bunch of celebrities and influencers who don't have brat's bellies, just to prove to you don't need to be built like a Bug's Life beetle to be worthy, popular, or successful. Let's re-educate ourselves on human physiology. Women of childbearing years will often naturally sit at a body fat percentage of between 25 to 35%. Why is that, I hear you ask? It is because biologically, our bodies want to reproduce. And they really want to keep us safe, especially our internal organs and especially our reproductive organs. Think about it this way. Our heart and lungs are really important in keeping us alive. If our heart stops beating, we die. If we can't breathe, we die. So we have a ribcage made of strong bone to protect these vital organs. However, we also really need our stomach and intestines and uterus to be safe to stay alive too. We don't have bones protecting these organs, so instead, our bodies purposely store a layer of fat around our midsection. The belly pooch is a small pad of fat that sits below the belly button and above the pelvic bowl. Its aim is not to make you feel shit about yourself, but to protect your reproductive organs such as your ovaries, fallopian tubes, and uterus. This is such a smart, intelligent design by the female human body. We are so amazing! Why are we killing ourselves in the gym trying to get rid of this layer of fat that our body really wants to keep there to keep us safe? Okay, reason number 2 why it is totally unrealistic to expect anyone to have a brat's belly in real life is because as humans, we tend to bloat. Women can get bloated stomachs for many reasons, including it being that time of the month, food intolerances, gas buildup, constipation, yes, women poop, digestive issues, stress, hormonal imbalances. There are so many reasons why a woman's stomach might get bloated, and whilst it is extremely common, it's also extremely uncomfortable. If you guys have ever been bloated, you will know that it is not pleasant, and you actually don't have to suffer through it. If you find yourself being chronically bloated or bloated a lot of the time, please see a functional doctor or a naturopath because you want to get to the root issue of why you have chronic bloating. You don't have to live that way. Number 3 reason why women have bellies is because just like every other being that is alive on the face of the earth, we have to eat. And when we eat, it travels from our mouth down our esophagus and into our stomachs to digest. So if you have just demolished a huge plate of food, that food is no longer sitting on your plate, it's in your belly, where it belongs. Number 4 reason why women have bellies is because we have internal organs. There's not just a bunch of jelly hanging about in there ready to be squished out of the way when you want an Instagram belly. No sir, that is not how the human body works. Do you actually know how many internal organs you need to fit into your belly? You've got your stomach, your liver, your small intestine, your large intestine, your colon, your uterus, bladder, just to name a few. I often find myself wondering when I see these influencers with their brat's bellies trying to pass it off as real. I'm like, girl, where is your large intestine? Where is your stomach? Do you have a spleen? Like, friend, are you actually okay? Should I call an ambulance? Now, I know I'm gonna have the inevitable comments like, oh, I've seen such and such influencer in real life and her stomach really is 10 centimeters in diameter. Or, my cousin's dog's cousin actually looks like that in real life. Girl, no. Your cousin may diet. Your cousin may work out. But nobody's belly is flat 24/7 and nobody's belly is actually this big in real life. Oh, and I love the comment, such and such influencer has lost weight since these photos were taken. She may have, or she may not. It doesn't really make a difference. I don't care how slim you've gotten or how much weight you've lost, your skeletal structure and your internal organs do not shrink. Now, I'm not telling you guys to live off fast food and ice cream. I'm actually studying to be a holistic nutritionist, so I know how important it is for women to nourish their bodies. You could be chronically undernourished and really metabolically unhealthy and still have a flat belly and hourglass waist. But you guys, that is not something to aspire to have. We need to stop being so preoccupied with what our bodies look like aesthetically and start paying attention to how they function. What's your digestion like? Do you poop once a day? How are your hormones? Are they balanced, or do you skip periods and get moody and crampy? How's your libido? What are your energy levels like? These things are what actually matter and what we should actually give a crap about. I know of girls who are literally killing themselves in the gym and dieting to extremes trying to achieve this Instagram belly. They work out so much that their bodies are in a constant state of stress, they lose their periods, and they feel crap about themselves because despite all that, their belly still doesn't look like what you see on Instagram. But what is so important to know, and quite frankly should be taught in schools, is that the majority of the time the size and shape of your waist is completely out of your control. Typically, if you're tall, you will have a longer torso and therefore you have loads of space within which to house your internal organs, compared to someone like me who is super short, has a really short torso. I have less space within which to house my internal organs. So my waist at 5'4" will always look different to someone who who is 6'3". If you have a thicker rib cage, your waist will always be wider too to accommodate that. If you have wide hips, your waist will bottom out, and that may make your waist look smaller if you have a small rib cage to hip ratio. It depends on the tilt of your spine. If you have poor posture, your waist may look different to someone with great posture. There are so many factors at play that determine what your belly and your waist looks like, and these are totally out of your control. It doesn't matter how skinny you are, how many diets you go on, how hard you work out, you will never have an Instagram belly because that belly is not found in nature. Instead of spending our precious time and energy trying to look like a Bratz doll, let's start nourishing our bodies, moving our bodies for health, and celebrating ourselves for the fact that we are human beings living on a star, spinning around in the universe, and somehow we're still alive.